Since the dawn of time, man has evolved. But wait, how has man evolved from a monkey? To understand this, we need to dive deeper into understanding cladistics. This is Cladistics with Frank, Juan, and Daniel. Cladistics is an approach to biological classification in which organisms are categorized based on shared derived characteristics that can be traced to a group's most recent common ancestor and are not present in more distant ancestors. In this video, we will be going over what a clade is, what cladograms are, and traits that can be analogous or homologous, as well as convergent and divergent evolution. First, we'll be looking at clades. Cladistics is a method of classifying organisms into groups of species called clades. Each clade consists of ancestral organism and all of its evolutionary descendants. Members of a clade will possess common characteristics as a result of their shared evolutionary lineage. Clades can be organized according to branching diagrams in order to show evolutionary relationships. Cladograms are tree diagrams where each branch point represents the splitting of two new groups from a common ancestor. Each branch point, also called a node, represents a speciation event by which distinct species are formed via divergent evolution. Cladograms show the probable sequence of divergence and hence demonstrate the likely evolutionary history of a clade. The fewer the number of nodes between the two groups, the more closely related they are expected to be. Now let's look at cladograms. Constructed cladograms all typically share certain key features. 4 main key features. The root, the initial ancestor common to all organisms within the cladogram. Nodes, each node corresponds to a hypothetical common ancestor that's speciated to give rise to two or more daughter taxa. Outgroup, the most distantly related species in the cladogram, which functions as a point of comparison and reference group. Clades, a common ancestor and all of its descendants. Now let's look at structural evidence. Convergent evolution is the independent evolution of similar features in species with distinct lineages and may occur when different species occupy the same habitat and are subjected to the same selection pressures. The shared conditions cause common adaptations to be selected in different species, resulting in structural similarity. An example of convergent evolution is the development of wings in birds, bats, and insects. Structural traits are not commonly used to determine clades, as such features may not necessarily indicate shared heritage. Traits that are similar because they derive from a common ancestry are termed homologous structures. Traits that are superficially similar but were derived through separate evolutionary pathways are termed analogous structures. Homologous structures are due to common ancestry, arise via divergent evolution. An example of homologous structures is a pendactyl limb in vertebrates. Analogous structures. Due to common selection pressures, they arise via convergent evolution. And an example of this is wings in insects, birds, and bats. Homologous structures are structures where they have similar structures but different functions for that structure. In analogous structures, they have different structures but similar functions. Looking at the pendactyl limb in vertebrates, we look at mammals and how we have the same bone structure in hand, where a human uses his hand for a different function compared to a whale who uses their fin for a different function. Going back to analogous structures, the wings in insects and birds are completely different because in birds they have the bones and in insects they don't have bones but complete the same function, which is flying. Using molecular evidence, scientists have discovered that many species thought to be closely related based on shared structural characteristics actually demonstrate distinct evolutionary origins. Crocodiles have been shown to be more closely related to birds than lizards, despite closely resembling lizards in structure. Many species of plants previously classified as figworts have been reclassified based on molecular evidence. Divergent evolution is the normal evolution pathway where a single ancestor diverges into two different species, and it is in contrast with convergent evolution where they gain the same function. And with that, it concludes our video.
created using Powtoon.